Three very problematic words in your spiritual journey, which I hear a lot. You might want to reconsider. Those three words are, I get it. And they're problematic on a lot of different ways, in a lot of different ways. First of all, it comes down to the I. This is especially true in spiritual practice. The I that gets it is already limiting and complicating the thing that one thinks is gotten. The ownership of the unspeakable, unknowable, whatever you want to call it, oh, I get it, is automatically deflated by the I, which says there's a me that has it. And then there's the get, which is a complicated idea because it involves some kind of holding or receiving or having that the I benefits from or figures out. And in the getting, there is a kind of possessiveness. And where most things are gotten on some level are in the mind and the ego structure that is trying to figure it out. So when you get it, meaning a spiritual idea, an energy force, a clarity of vision, and you own it, you have immediately taken something that is unexpressible and unknowable and made it yours, which is a very, very problematic aspect of the spiritual journey. The it that we are referring to probably has a capital I, and it is so core and central to everything you are, and unowned is probably richer and more vibrant in your existence than getting it, than having it, than getting understanding it, to putting it into perspective. The desire to put anything into the perspective is to diminish it. And all I can say is my own journey in this world, and I've described it often, has gone into getting it and letting it go because the getting it limits it on every level. You're holding on to something that is not holdable. It gives you a certain kind of comfort, but it is a comfort that enhances and defines the impermanence of your being. You are here not to get it, and I will be, this is maybe too cerebral, but you are here to be it. You are here to be it. I know I could say, well, do this and do that, and you go, oh, I get it. And then the whole idea of being it gets thrown out the window again. But the reality is, being it is the journey. And I will tell you, although this may not make sense, you are already it. You are the very thing you want to get, the very thing you want to possess, the very thing that will give you closure and comfort and ownership and knowledge and wisdom and cognitive ability to get the universe. And all of that reinforces you as a separate entity, and it takes away from the being it. How do you rewire yourself, your being, to stop that process? Well, it's hard because we are all, as you know, and I use the word now a lot, programmed by our life experience, by being born into the world, by being taught various lessons biologically and informationally and emotionally by our parents, by our friends, by our siblings, by our teachers, on, that this is what it is. And then you go, oh, I get it. When you are taking a class and somebody says this and this adds up to that, you go, oh, I get it. So we're programmed to get it. We're programmed to have it. But in the spiritual journey, which is an unusual journey for most people, because our culture particularly doesn't put it front and center. So mostly what we are is a society of educated people who have gotten it over and over and over and over and over and reinforce it and keep reinforcing it all the time. In a way, I try to look at life in a certain sense of quadrants. There is the body quadrant, the physiological, and it has a life of its own, and it talks to us, it instructs us, it empowers us, it deflates us, it does all sorts of things, but it's a very real place that we live. Then we're surrounded by a second quadrant, which is family, friends, home space that we live in every day. And that is the space that speaks to us probably more closely than almost anything except maybe the body quadrant. Then we have the social fabric of our lives, social, political, whatever you want to call it, that dialogues with the world. That is the TV shows we watch, the newspapers we read, the informational load that comes into our lives. That's a quadrant. And then there is the environmental quadrant, the world we live in. And all those things are sort of in dialogue with each other. And we watch how they unfold and we watch how they interact with each other all the time. And we go, oh, I get it. I get it. I look at the weather report for next week. Oh, I get it. Thursdays, I don't want to go out. Of course, Thursday comes and the weather report's not at all what it said it was going to be, but you had gotten it. You had planned a world and a life around getting it, and it changed. It keeps changing. The outer world, the environmental world now is changing faster than ever. The political world is in a total upheaval. The day-to-day level with family, each of you knows your own journey with that, and the people around you. Mine is proving to be the biggest teaching that I've had in my life, and wonderful. Long story, and you've heard parts of it, but all I can tell you is the day-to-day journey is really instructive. And then there's your body, and you get to my age or George's age. By the way, George Subkoff will turn 84 next week. I want you, he's the oldest now member of our entire gathering here. And George, happy birthday, and we love you. um, uh, but I want to just say the biological, physiological world that we all live in is very changeable. And you get to a certain age, and I'll quote 80, but it's all variable, where it starts to have its own dynamic. And you wake up one morning and go, it's like this. You wake up the next morning, it's like that. You go, oh, I get it. This is this and that. And then it goes, nope, not that. And the I get it idea just starts to complicate your life. This is Western man, man living in a world of outer form, outer content, biological body form. And it doesn't address probably the most important part of the spiritual journey, which is there's an inner life. There's an inner quadrant. Quadrant's the wrong word because it's part of, that's not part of four. It's its own reality. It is, as those of you who've all touched it, vast and unexplainable, unknowable, unreachable in a way, even though it is the aspect of you that is most present. And what you begin to discover as you go on the spiritual journey, the inward journey, is places you never knew existed, places of wonder, places of gratitude, places of visionary awareness, places of light and joy beyond understanding. It all, there's a journey for people that is taken by some and not by others, but it's worth it. And I can only talk from my perspective and what I see in others who have been on the journey. It is a place that absolutely gives you insight, knowing, and wisdom. I can't talk about it as a predictable thing. It's beyond anything I have ever been able to express, other than kind of as words like brilliance and we wonder, and I mean luminosity. There's just, but you can't lock it in. If you live in the four quadrant zone, you are going to be walking around getting it. And you're going to get it as long as there's a mind to hold on to it, as long as there's a body to deal with it. And that getting it is going to be more and more tight and difficult to hold on to, because the body's decaying, the mind is decaying, the world is disruptive, and the environmental world is changing so dramatically. Getting it is like what? What does it mean that I get it? It just means you fit it into some category in the brain. If you go into the other space of being, this journey within, getting it is no longer an issue. It's no longer driving your life force. Going inside is being it and discovering it as it is on every level. And somehow all of us have been lucky enough to have had that door open one way or another. That door went boop, and we have all gone in to some degree. Some of us have taken 4 steps into the inner being. Some of us have driven miles or flown, around the universe with this inner space. But none of us can come out of it in any real way saying, "Oh, I get it." So there's something wildly humbling about leaving behind the four quadrants of knowing and just allowing yourself to be what is, if you will. I mean, words start to fall apart, but there is this experience of being that is, in a way, everything. It's the whole purpose. It's the whole reason. It's why we are in this world. And it is the answer to all questions. It's questions, it actually takes all the questions and throws them away. It just goes, here you are. The deepening of being, for me, has proven the greatest resource and place of contentment, evolving and expanding at this moment. I don't know how or why. I can't say I get it, but it is happening. And it is allowing me to live in a world in wild transformation. Wild transformation. You all know from your observational skill sets that the world is not what it was a week ago or a year ago or a month ago. It's just going through something we haven't really witnessed before. Some of you are experiencing it all in all four quadrants. You wake up to levels of heat and humidity you haven't known. You see a political spectrum on the news, et cetera, that is, unacceptable or undeniable anyway, not hard to incorporate. You have things in your inner daily life that might be, warm and comforting, or struggling and difficult. It's impossible to know, and your body may at some point say, "I'm done." It's starting to dissipate. Those are all really hard things to deal with in life, and that is what we all mostly deal with. But if you're lucky enough to have come upon the inner being, you have a place of, we'll call it refuge, a place to go, and you go, and it's really valuable. It's really valuable because nothing in the outer four quadrants is going to give you refuge. Trust me, it will not do it. You may go, "I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it." Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Let go of getting, start being. Just, I want so much to describe it. And I know all of you have tasted it, and many of you live it. Many of you do. That's why I love you. That's why you're here, because you know what I am talking about. So then knowing what I'm talking about adds to the next step of the equation. which is being is not just for you, and it's not just about you. Being is continuum. It includes all that there is. But many people and creatures in the world around you are not aware of being. They're not aware of the gentility and the beauty and the light and the enormity of being. And there's only one way for them to start to get to that place. Now, yes, you can start a yoga class and a meditation thing or whatever you want to do if you want to go to that level. But the simpler version, and this is, Bruce Rubin, whatever, 101, be a nice person, be kind, demonstrate being to others. Demonstrate being doesn't mean that you sell it. It doesn't mean that you project it with artificial means. It's you are you in every situation, in every moment, in every part of your life. And there are a lot of people who will come into your life who don't know what being is. They don't know. They have never learned it. You can be for them a doorway to being themselves as well. It's how you hug them, it's how you love them, it's how you sit with them, it's how you generate kindness and goodness in the presence of others. And there are going to be a lot of people out there who are not going to be all that open to it. But it doesn't matter. Your job isn't to, you're not a surgeon. You're just going in there and trying to be a representation of or a representative of this vastness of reality. And that's called radiating. It's radiance. It's called being a person of kindness and goodness and love wherever you go all the time to the best of your ability. And it's fascinating to watch it work. It's just fascinating. And and I am, I've been a practitioner for years, but I'm learning, of course, as I go. Learning meaning I'm forgetting everything I knew, and I'm just being, and the being is instructive. It's just deeply instructive. And it tells me, like we were in Washington, D.C. last week with my son, Ari, and Burju, his wife, and their dog, Jiva. And, you know, Washington, D.C. last week was a very strange place. Those of you who are into watching the world go through its things, they turned they brought the military in as policemen while Blanche and I were there. And the transformation was not pretty. And it's getting, even from a certain sense, in that quadrant, very unpleasant. But we walked around the block. There were actually two directions we could go. One was into a very poor area, and one was into a strangely very, very successful area of people. To me, it didn't make a difference because it was one, I didn't know, but two, I just was so excited to be on a street with people because we live here, in the middle of, you can see, I guess, trees behind me. This is a forest. I don't walk on a street and see people except in cars going by. So suddenly we were surrounded by people of every color and every race. And I mean, and their animals, their dogs, and people with their babies and, little kids. I was in heaven. I loved the magnitude of all of it. But it's a city in great transformation. And Blanche and I walked around it, and people would come up the street. And this thing in me, this being, wanted to greet itself, if you will. And I was wearing a hat, and I would take my hat off to women who passed by. Now, I never done that before, and it's probably from the 1800s. People don't do that. The result was so beautiful. I cannot tell you the smiles that I would get when I would do that was like, it was like being to being. That's all it was. And just simple smiles to people or waving to people was so rich, and it was so continual because as you walk around neighborhood to neighborhood, and they weren't different at all. People were people, and the joy that came from being to being, recognizing, if you will, for a second, singularity of being, was unbelievably rich, joyful, just joyful. Now, there were some people I would go smile, they do them, and they go, oh. They would just, I mean, really just close down, shut down, look away. They are not going to be approachable by me in this lifetime, at least not walking down the street. I hope they can find something out of the four quadrants that will begin to open themselves to this unbelievable reality that we are all part of, singularly and collectively part of. And it would be wonderful to share that with every person you meet. You all know some people are harder to do that with than others. That's just the way it is. Does that mean you don't try? No. Your being is a presence, it is a reality. If it starts to get in the way, excuse me, if your kindness gets in the way of another person's interaction with you, just shift it. Find another doorway. Excuse me. We are here to serve the being that we are, which is all around us and is in us and is us. You can serve yourself and you can serve your families, the people you love, and the people you're walking down the street with. You can do that. You can radiate a certain kind of simplicity, of goodness and kindness, and that is a spiritual practice. The most important thing, however, is to find that space in yourself so you do have a capacity to give it. And that is what Rudy called the work. You've got to go in and find, and Rudy would say, explore and deepen your connection to being. There's a very sort of facile version of being, which is waking up in the morning and going, "Oh, I'm where I am." And, and that there's that version of being, and then there is this presence that is beyond anything you can comprehend or explain or dialogue with in any way. You just are it, and the only way to find that is offer yourself to it. The meditation practice, the breathing practice, the opening of yourself, the asking for help, very important. More important, find it. Don't just try. Get there, be there, and realize maybe that's the real teaching, of course, that you're already there. And then expand and open and make yourself endlessly available to this universe of being that mostly expresses itself in our human day-to-day life as kindness. Just be good to the people around you, the people who come in contact with you. As Rudy would say, if it's in front of you, it's yours. As I say, it's if it's in front of you, it's sacred. You are in you are in the presence of the creation, and you are a vehicle, a conscious vehicle. Not everybody is very conscious. We see that's the problem right now with the suffering in the world, the lack of consciousness, the lack of awareness that people are being. And that's what the world is. And yes, it's going to be challenging for us beyond understanding. It's already in place. The dynamic of day-to-day life now is not what it was a year ago. I don't know how it's going to play out. None of us know anything for sure, but I will tell you it's probably not going to be easy or fun. So what I would recommend is depth, connection, being as the guiding force, and bring it to every corner of your life and the universe that you can bring it to. You know, I've said this before, but when I'm at the CVS and somebody gives me, the medicine I've gone to get, my thank yous are very dynamic. You know, I, I, it's not projecting and pushing. It's just letting people know I really appreciate the effort that they put in, one person after another, after another, after another. And they need to know, the guy who puts gas in your car, if you have that, we have that here, the woman, you've got to let them know that that's not taken for granted. Any service, any kindness offered to you, offer back. Say thank you. I appreciate it. Let people know. Anyway, these are the little techniques we have as human beings to share our goodness with others. And if there's ever been a time in the history of our lives, this is the moment where we have to become conscious and effortful and engaging and letting the being drive the show, not the mind, not the part that gets it, Let that go. Just be, I was going to say feel, feel's part of it. Know, bigger part of it. Not know, even bigger part of it. How to function moment to moment in your relationship with every quadrant of your life. Figure it out. Do what you have to do, or you will, well, you'll feel what happens if you don't do it. That's all I can tell you. It's not fun. It's not fun. And human life, maybe it's not supposed to be about fun, but it can be about profound love, beauty, gratitude, awareness, sharing, embracing, being part of a whole that comes from going inside, outside the four quadrants, into the place that all of those quadrants exist, and you can become the light that keeps them light and shining. Rudy used to say, interestingly, the universe is a yin and yang. There's equality. And I think I've said this many times before because it's such a smart thing. He said, when the universe tends toward darkness, the light has to go somewhere. Why not to you? Why not be the light? It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Rudy also said something that I was reminded of the other day. He, he said, the world that we live in is the Bellevue of the solar system. Bellevue, for those of you who don't remember, it was an insane asylum. We are living in an insane asylum. And I think you're starting to see that more and more. You do not have to succumb to that. You have to be, if anything, someone who brings water and food and help to the people who are climbing the walls. You have to do that. I mean, you don't have to, but it's the better side of the equation. So be the light, be the helper, be, and I'll end it with just be. The end. Okay. Um, I don't, any thoughts, or worries, or fears, or concerns, or George?
I get it.
We should end on that. Yeah, I mean there we go, of course. Um, yeah,
All trying to know the unknowable, and that's
you can't you have to give up trying to know it. It can't be known. It cannot be known. And to live every day realizing that is shockingly.
what human nature wants.
Yes, yes, it does. But there's another part of human nature that's spiritual, that already knows it can't know and surrenders to the larger picture and absolutely revels. I mean, revels is the wrong word because it's not like you are reveling. It's like you are going, oh, and there's a thank you you can't express.
Talk reminds me of the movie King of Hearts,
Oh yeah, yeah.
where sing the sound gets out. Excellent.
No, George is talking about a movie. I know he's loved it for years called King of Hearts, which is, um, there are people getting out of the insane asylum, and we're all people trying to get out of the insane asylum, and we're all better off for that. Life is not exactly insane, but it's just we don't have enough awareness of the inner being in our social fabric. It's just not there. Our our society isn't teaching us that. So those of you who are sitting here today hearing this talk, you know, it's an opportunity to know that you you're you're free of the social fabric to the degree that you can realize who you are and what you are and what you can how you are a creature of being and not doing. I said this last few weeks. I said we're not born as human doings, we're born as human beings. So get on track with them.
Bruce, I have a question. Hi, Bruce. Thank you so much for this. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, thank you so much for this. I have a question. Can you recommend like a book or anything to read about four quadrants of knowledge? Or is it, what do you refer?
that's exactly at the core of the problem.
Okay, I shouldn't, right? Okay.
And I listen to these. I get these little mailings every day of spiritual dictums and things and thoughts that come at me, and I look at them and I go, they 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 want you to say I get it, and the books want you to say I get it, and I know because I know you that you want to get it. But I'm telling you, I'm trying to teach you a process where getting it is not the solution; it's the problem. And if you can get to a place, if you can realize that you are already in a place that doesn't have to get anything, it will take care of itself. I mean, there is learning, there is school, there is knowledge. Yes, all that stuff filters into it, but there's something that all of that is contained in that it would be nice to discover. You know, it's the world, the universe we live in is the internal interior journey into that space is bigger than everything we can learn in the material world as we know it. And it's really worth finding it and trusting it enough that you can start letting go of knowledge and find wisdom. Just be a wise soul, which means just be. Just be. Nothing to read. I mean, you can read anything you want, and yeah, it may push you in a direction, but I'm telling you, even what I'm saying maybe sound like, information to say I get, but George said, I get it. Trust me. Don't get it. Okay? Just be it.
Okay,
Well,
I don't get it.
good. Well, that's a great line. Keep it, let it be. Keep it going. Okay? You will be better off not getting it. If everything I say is meaningless to you and you just don't get it, trust me, that's better than going, I get it. It's much better. Even if you sign off of all this altogether, life will, I think, ultimately, through its processes and whatever supposedly we all go through, I believe it delivers all of us to not getting it. It delivers all of us to awareness of being, whether it's in this lifetime or beyond, or as we leave it. I don't know, but I will tell you, having seen, touched, witnessed, been embraced by, and in love with the what is, I know it's not there for me. It's just there. So make your way. What was that? Anyway, make your way toward where you already are. Find it, embrace it. Thank you for showing up. I love you all. Next week I don't know yet. We're supposed to go to a camp with Josh and Evan where the kids are, and I really want to go, but it involves unbelievable walking, which is proving to be more difficult than I can handle. And Josh just showed me where I can buy a stool that you like a little bag, and then you just open it up and close it, and that would make it possible for me to go to the camp. So it's arriving tomorrow. If that works, I'm going to go to the camp, and if it doesn't work, I'll send a note out next week saying there's another class because I'll teach class if I can't go. But anyway, we'll leave that open. Thank you for showing up. More information, I think, than you want to hear. I love you all. I thank you all, guys, here for coming, and onward.